natural healings and have supernatural power, and a majority of the world is going to fall for this. They're going to fall for his charades. And people laugh, and people even listening to this show and saying, I'd never believe it, I'd never fall for it. Yet how many of you out there won't listen about Ron Paul? You won't listen about George Bush 8 years ago. You're not listening about Ron Paul now. You're not going to listen later when Jesus arrives. You have no discernment. You can't discern, and you won't listen to those who do. I get arguments from people all the time, people I've known for years, who have fallen for this Ron Paul. Use discernment, people. Ask the Lord for discernment. They call him one of his own, Ron Paul. They call him one of his own in their own writings. He's several, 10, I've seen whole websites of pictures of Ron Paul giving the devil's horn sign. Oh, but he's a Texas fan. That's it. He's a Longhorns fan. Or he's saying, I love you. You know what? You people can explain away everything. They're going to be the first ones falling for this Antichrist. Oh, look at him. He's healing people, and he's a humble person. He's not evil. He's not this evil Antichrist. You know what? The Bible never said the Antichrist was going to come as an evil person. The Bible says he's charming. Very charming. The women are going to love him. Very charming individual. And so that's what, a lot of deception coming, and sometimes it's almost just like talking to the wall. So many people just heading straight for it, won't prepare for it ahead of time. But that's my job. That's my job. I just do what the Lord asks me to do. I say what he asks me to say, speak about what he asks me to speak about. And it's always these same things, folks, is preparing people for this deception that's coming, because every time I think, okay, this Maitreya stuff is so crazy, it's been going on for 50 years now, let me move on to something else. He won't let me. He will not let me move out of this area. He won't let me budge, because this is exactly where everything is heading into this alien agenda. I know people are waiting for a human to take the seat at 666 at the United Nations. You've all heard about how they've got the United Nations Council, and everybody's got their seat number, and there's one seat, 666, that's empty. They're waiting for the Messiah to come and sit at that seat. It's not going to be a human, folks. It's going to be this Maitreya or this Jesus Christ, this Sananda, and they're both going to work in conjunction with one another. First, we're going to see the bad one come, and he's, this Islam, going to try to overtake the world, conquer the world with this Islam, and then Jesus is going to come, and then they work together hand in hand. It's going to be amazing to see how they actually pull this off. I do believe this Maitreya will come first, and they won't come at the same time. And I believe he's already here. He's just waiting for the media to be ready to acknowledge him. I think they're waiting for their money. They're waiting for the green light from their own people. And at any time, you could see them kick in their agenda. And one of the first things you're going to know when they kick in their agenda is, if it happens before the elections in 2008, is they will have Bush and Cheney arrested for the treasonous murderers they are. And so that's when it's going to happen, folks. That's when they start coming after the politicians. They're going to start coming after the Christian big mouths shortly after. And so be prepared. And I know a lot of big mouths are. We're all prepared. We've all been doing this for years. We know what's at stake. We know that we're giving our lives up for the Lord and for our country and for doing the things that He's asked us to do. And we're willingly doing that. We're willingly giving up our lives for that. And so that's the one thing to watch for, folks. That's when you'll know the agenda's kicking in here in America full force, is when you start to see it. And I know people now are cheering it on, because even without this alien agenda, they want to see Bush and Cheney arrested and the whole satanic shebang in Washington, D.C. And I do too. I'd cheer it on. That's definitely an arrest boat I'd cheer on. I don't care where they take the plane. They could haul them all on a plane, take it over the Atlantic, and drop it. But that's exactly when the alien agenda will kick in. If it goes to a 2008 election, we actually have some kind of, I think anybody has faith in the election system here in America that doesn't know the whole thing is rigged and set up. And I know people holding out for some kind of hope that Ron Paul will get elected. And so that's just like saying, let's just, we won't have to fool with Hillary Clinton being president. We'll just have Satan's pawn himself, Ron Paul, as if Hillary isn't herself. You just go from one to the other. There is no difference, folks. There's no difference between Ron Paul and Hillary Clinton. He's just a nicer guy. she's honest. People like the liars better than the honest people, obviously, because he's nothing but a good liar, where at least Hillary's honest. And I've been warning for years how she's going to be totally involved with martial law in America. And so it's going to come down to either one of those. If it comes down to an election in 2008, it could kick in earlier than that. When you see Bush go, when you see Cheney go, boom, we're in the alien agenda, folks. We're in the new age. It's time to stock up your bullets, your guns, have your food ready. Because when they take control of the world economy and they own all the food, you're not going to be able to buy food unless you join this Luciferian initiation into this one world government. And I had the initiation words itself on my website, thewatcherfiles.com. I think it was David Rockefeller, I believe, who quotes exactly the words of this Luciferian initiation into the New Age movement is. And I don't know what they're going to do. Make people go to court, go to the license bureau and quote this initiation to get their chip or their identification card or whatever they're going to do. But they're going to clamp down and force people to make a conscious decision whether they're going to join this new world order, this global government, or be a dissenter. And they're fully prepared for the dissension. You know, that's why they're going to have an international police force, international armies in every country, because they don't expect American soldiers to hound up American families, classify them into one of these 7 classifications that I just went over, and throw them in detention centers. And that's why they're going to have foreign troops here, and they'll take American troops and put them in foreign countries to go after those people. That's why it's going to be global chaos like that. Because, you know, obviously it's different in a different country. Look what the Americans are doing to the Arabs in Baghdad, in Iraq. This Blackwater, the American troops, they'll shoot on Iraqi citizens. They wouldn't shoot on their own American citizens. And that's why they would just bring foreign troops into America to shoot on American citizens. Round these people up, send them into one of these classifications. Your children are going to become sex slaves. You can become a medical experiment, or kept artificially alive on a table so they can remove your organs one by one. So you remember this, folks. You remember these 7 classifications I went over when you refused to pick up a gun and defend yourself against these soldiers coming after you. I've told you over and over again, don't be taken alive. Fight for your life in these last days if you have to. And that's the one thing they don't want to hear. That's the one thing the New World Order wants to do, is to take people's guns away, take their so they can't defend themselves. And so that's, you know what, folks, you've got those bows and arrows, I don't know what they're called, where they're kind of like automatic, to where you can shoot arrows. You got knives, you can rig things, you know, defend yourself any way you can, and plan for this now. Because when all of this starts, it's going to happen very quickly. The Lord has always said that the tribulation events are like a bathtub full of water, and you slowly start to let the water out of the tub, and it starts going really slow, and it kind of drains out of the tub slow. And then when you start to get towards the bottom, the water just races out. And that's exactly how the tribulation events are going to be. They are just going to speed up. I mean, right now they're kind of going slow. And when you start to see this stuff happen, it's going to be boom. All these events, one after the other, after the other, after the other. Everything's going to happen very quickly, and it's going to catch people unprepared. I mean, I don't think there's a time in the codes I've seen anybody that wasn't surprised at what the things that are happening, because you don't expect it to happen when they do. You know, I see that term in the codes with myself all the time, surprised, shocked. And now I see why, because, you know, things like this homegrown terrorism bill, where they're going to come after people for exactly what I'm doing now, warning people